Should I zoom in? Too much. I am Joey Adams. I am 25 years old and 7 weeks. I turned 25 in August. It is now September 29th. I'm in my new room that I'm renting out in Lakewood, Colorado. I'm always looking to improve myself, and conversations for improving are not easy. I've had a lot of those recently, and I'll probably talk about them throughout this interview. Beach, because typically you can use it longer throughout the year. That's not even true, just the beach. I'd be an oak tree. I feel that oak trees are strong and confident, and they know what they're about. The last book I read was I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings over the summer. I've started a couple books since then and listened to a few books. So the last book that I listened to was Hustle Smarter, Hustle Harder by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. My favorite song right now is probably All These Things That I've Done by The Killers. It's my favorite fall song. My favorite movie right now is The Princess Bride. I've probably watched it 4 times in the past month. Coco is a solid number 2 though. One of my pet peeves is when you're in a conversation with someone and they don't acknowledge what you said. I feel like this happens a lot more in like iMessage than in face-to-face conversations because the social cue would be a lot different. So when I'm texting someone and trying to either make plans or just have a conversation about something specific and they completely breeze over the message that I sent them and it doesn't get discussed, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. One of my pet Steves, the opposite of a pet peeve, is when someone comes back to me and says like, if I taught them something like, hey, this really helped me out during this exam, or this lesson that you told me really helped me out in my day-to-day life. I really appreciated it. When someone affirms me that I was able to teach them something, that's my kind of biggest pet Steve. My mother would describe me in one sentence by saying, I'm her little bambino. I'd want to live in ancient Rome. I feel like that was the coolest part of history because there was so much in terms of science and technology and medicine and just current culture that we have. Over the summer, I asked this question and didn't know why I chose ancient Rome over ancient Greece. So I did a little bit of research and it seemed that ancient Rome was more of a set civilization, whereas Greece was a conglomeration of city-states. So there was more of a communal community structure, and I have been to the Roman Forum and saw where the Romans, partied and ate and drank, and it was really cool. I'd love to visit that place for a week. Typically for this question, I would have said that something along the lines of, I have a lot more room to grow. But actually, I learned last night that there's a gland under your tongue and it produces a lot of saliva. So that means your front bottom teeth are more predisposed to plaque than any of your other teeth. And I noticed I had a buildup of plaque. So that was what I learned in the past month. And it surprised me because I floss every single night. Something I'm looking forward to this year. What comes next in my career? I'll leave it at that. A tradition that I've developed in the past few years is going to at least one Michigan State football game per year. And of course this year, because of COVID, that will not be brought to fruition, but I'll still be watching from the sidelines when we restart later next month on the 24th. My biggest lesson learned, hands down, in the past year was cutting things out of my life. People, activities, habits. I've been very attached to all of the above, and the more I've cut them out, the more I've realized how, 1, dependent I was on them, and 2, how much better I am off without them. And I would say that's specifically so within my relationships. When I was able to cut out a lot of the people in my life who were taking and not giving back, I had a lot more emotional energy to give others and invest in relationships that I cared about, and I immediately saw the fruits of that labor. So in cutting out the bad, I was able to make way for the great. My life motto is, I'm not sure where I'm headed, but I haven't gotten lost yet. I always have a plan in place and I'm always trying to follow it and make it come to fruition, but inevitably it always changes and it never plays out how I thought it would. But adapting to that change is what makes life fun. Define success. Being really, truly happy on a day-to-day basis. I'll know I've made it when I asked this question the other day. My answer was, I get my last kid through college. But I think it goes more than that. I think it's when I can see the first life that I've truly impacted, whether that be my child or someone else along the way. When I probably get that pet Steve and get that affirmation and get that feedback, or I can see that firsthand, that I was able to impact someone and make their life better in some way, shape, or form. I think that for me is going to be my I'll know I've made a win moment. Something I'm insecure about is definitely my body. Something I'm very secure about is my ability to connect with people. I feel like I see this more and more with the more people I meet, especially out here in Denver, in terms of being thrown into situations where I don't know people. I've gotten a lot more comfortable having steady conversation with them and actually getting to know them better throughout the course of the night, whereas in the past I would probably get nervous about it and kind of falter in my words. So my biggest security is being able to connect with people, especially with people that either I haven't seen in a while or I'm just meeting now. A lesson that I experienced in the past year. A lesson I experienced in the past year but didn't learn from is watch who you speak to, especially when you're coming to someone with an emotionally heightened situation. Especially, I just feel like whether it's work or personal or something at your church, whatever it may be, you definitely need to watch who you're talking to because word can spread pretty quickly. So I've kind of learned this in small increments and then finally kind of seen that come to fruition over the past few months. Definitely just know who you talk to and make sure that the person you are talking to, if you're sharing something that's emotionally heightened or a more recent situation, make sure that they're truly your confidant and not someone that you just feel connected with. They need to have that confidentiality that's important to certain relationships and with certain topics. I need to get better at being patient with my parents. It seems like every time we have a conversation, even if it's like small things that aren't a big deal, I'm not being patient with them. And I can't pick out specifics in conversations, but I can tell you probably the last time or every time in the past few weeks that I've called my parents, it's inevitably ended with me just not being patient about stupid small things, like asking questions about my life. It's easy to get aggravated with and it's easy to be removed from the situation. So it's important to kind of just stay grounded in that and understand that I need to be more patient in the moment because these are the people that care about me most and want to see me succeed the most. This is like the one question that has been hardest to answer. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I got really hard on myself for just being complacent since I turned 25. So I took a look at areas where I felt there were distractions in my life and tried to cut them out. So one, I wanted to become more goal-oriented, so I wrote down and published my goals. 2, I'm currently cutting out drinking for the next 3.5 weeks. And 3, I cut out dating apps from my life because they were just such a big and consistent distraction. I also more recently cut out social media. I definitely am finding myself when I have breaks in between meetings at work, opening up Safari and going to Twitter and going to Instagram, and there's nothing there now. I'm not logged in. My accounts aren't currently active. So I am opening my phone a lot and then immediately locking it right after. I don't regret this. It's definitely been a change and a transition that I've had to adapt to. But I talk about wanting to be more present. There's no better way to be more present than getting rid of distractions in your life, of which these 4 things were the most pertinent. Who am I? I am Joey Adams. I am a learner. I am someone who is always trying to self-improve. I'm someone who seeks feedback, and I'm emotional. When I get feedback that I don't agree with, it's not easy to take, but that's what helps me grow. That's what helps me become a better person, and that's what's gonna help me become a better version of myself. And we're done.